welcome to this Feedinfo Perspectives video on exploring the use of insects as feed ingredients. I am Ollie Theocaris, Head of Perspectives Content for Feedinfo. Today, I'm going to be speaking to Carrie Kuball, who is the Vice President for Sales and Marketing at EnviroFlight, who are supporting this video. So EnviroFlight are a growing company in the insects for feed space. And today we're going to get some insight into why insects are showing so much potential for our industry, the ins and outs of what EnviroFlight's work involves, and also how scalable this work is and if it has the potential to support the entire feed industry. Hello, Carrie. Thank you for joining me today. So I feel at the moment there's some real excitement about the potential use of insects in the feed industry. Can you tell us about how the idea for EnviroFlight first came about, how the company was established, but also kick off by just introducing yourself to our viewers?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me today, Ollie. I'm Carrie Kuball, Vice President of Sales and Marketing for EnviroFlight. EnviroFlight is the first commercial black soldier fly company in the United States. The company was first established in Yellow Springs, Ohio in 2009. At that time, the founder had the idea of raising black soldier fly larvae as biofuel because of their high fat content. Darling Ingredients gained interest in EnviroFlight as a sustainable insect to be used as animal feed. With their support, the first commercial black soldier fly facility in the United States was funded in 2017 and launched into production and selling product in 2019. This facility is located in Maysville, Kentucky.
So now I think what our viewers would really love to hear about is why we should be using insects in feed. What are the key benefits to the animal nutrition and feed industry?
Insects provide a sustainable source of protein. They're a natural food item to many species, and they provide a novel protein source to the pet food market. Black soldier fly larvae are extremely efficient processors of all sorts of feed ingredients and even food waste that would not otherwise be used. They have a very rapid growth rate, and they allow for many generations to be produced in any given year. Another advantage that we have with black soldier fly is the ability to farm them vertically. So if you think about crops growing in a field, it's really just a two-dimensional field, and you get one crop per growing season, which is typically once a year. Same thing with animals on a pasture or in a barn. It's that kind of two-dimensional, single layer of animals either on the pasture or even in the barn. With insects, we can stack those trays vertically, so we can utilize that third dimension and produce a lot more protein and energy on a small footprint of land. Let's talk a little bit more about insects and how they're a natural food item for many animals. Fish tend to eat insects at some point during their life or all the time, depending on the species of fish. Birds, including chickens and turkeys, will spend their time, if they have the ability to be outside, they will forage around for insects in the ground. Even dogs and cats in their natural outdoor environment will find and eat insects from time to time. So by providing insects as a portion of the diet going to these animals, it allows either for that natural feeding behavior when the insect is fed whole, but it also provides nutritional benefits when they're incorporated into the animal's manufactured feed. Sustainable ingredients is really a hot button, if you will, in the pet food market, and is becoming more and more important for pet food owners. The pet industry also requires novel protein sources to meet the needs of dogs and cats that may have allergies or develop allergies to familiar types of protein that are typically used in animal feed. So by incorporating insect as a protein source into these pet foods, we're providing an allergy relief to those animals that would otherwise have an issue. Black soldier fly also have value-added properties that can benefit the animal beyond the role as a source of essential nutrients. So in particular, black soldier fly contain a high level of lauric acid. Lauric acid is a mid-chain fatty acid that is otherwise only found in coconut oil or palm kernel oil, and typically those are not sustainably sourced. So we can gain lauric acid from black soldier fly larvae in a sustainably sourced way. The lauric acid, being that mid-chain fatty acid, it provides the body with a source of energy that can easily be absorbed. It actually even crosses the blood-brain barrier, so it provides an instant source of energy to the brain and could be extremely beneficial in young growing animals or even senior animals when we think about pets that need that quick, easily absorbable energy source. There's also many new discoveries happening with black soldier fly as the industry is so young. EnviroFlight has a robust R&D program, which is leading the efforts in many of these new discoveries as well.
So I think it sounds like there's been quite a lot of research in this area just to ensure that, you know, this way of raising insects is super sustainable and is doing its bit for the planet. You referenced there as well the black soldier fly, which I think is something we hear a lot about. What makes this species so special, and what sort of products can you produce from them?
So the black soldier fly was chosen by EnviroFlight for a number of reasons. First of all, they're a sustainable, natural insect in the environment. They're native to all continents except maybe Antarctica. So they're not an invasive species that we would be introducing to any area that our manufacturing facilities would be in. It's rare that our insects would get out, that our flies especially, or even our larvae would get out of the facility that we produce them in. But should that happen, we don't have to worry about them, you know, taking over a new community or being introduced into an area where they wouldn't be otherwise. The other thing about black soldier flies is that they do not carry zoonotic disease. They do not have the mouth parts to bite, and they do not have any method of stinging. They do not eat when they're adults in the fly stage, so they really can't carry disease that could be transferred into humans through that bite or sting. And they're really not a pest to people. So with using black soldier fly, we don't have to worry about that within our facility. They also are very quiet insects in the adult fly stage. Even when they're flying, they more or less float around as opposed to buzz or, you know, have any sound whatsoever. It's a nice environment to work in, especially when we have, you know, hundreds or hundreds of thousands of flies in one given area, to not have to hear them. With the black soldier fly larva, we produce 4 products. We produce a product called EnviroBug, which is literally the whole dried larva. So that product is typically used for enrichment for animals, or it can be used in a diet composition, you know, mixed into the feed. But it is the whole dried larva. So it does work very well, more or less as a treat. It contains high protein and high fat that are typically contained in the larva. Another product that we produce is called EnviroMeal. The EnviroMeal is made by pressing the fat or the oil out of that dried EnviroBug product. And what's left behind then is the high protein component of the larva. So we can grind that and basically turn it into a high protein flour, if you will, that can be used as a protein source in animal feed. The oil that we press out is, we call that Enviro oil, and we can clean that down to a pure substance, and it's an oil that then contains a nice high level of fatty acid. mid-chain fatty acids called lauric acid. That product provides a nice, like I said, mid-chain fatty acid source to be used in animal feed. It's highly absorbed by the body, so there's a lot of benefits using EnviroOil as a fat or energy source in animal feed. EnviroFrass is the fourth component that we produce out of the black soldier fly larva. As larvae grow, they grow in their food. So we use the food as their bedding as well. At the end of their growing cycle, when we are drying them down, we can use the leftover bedding and food to produce the EnviroFrass. It not only contains the leftover food particles, but it also contains the exoskeletons that are shed from the larva as they go through their various growth cycles. This product can be used as a high carbohydrate food source. We call that EnviroFeed. We also can produce a natural fertilizer out of this EnviroFrass product that can be used for garden plants or pastures or even crop fields, just to have a nice high quality natural fertilizer.
So I think two things spring to mind there. One, I think it's incredible how flexible just growing black soldier fly really is, and the number of products you can really produce from them. And secondly, if you're using the bedding and the leftover food and the exoskeletons, that just means that we're using every part of the insect and maximizing the sustainability aspect when it comes to this. So I think that's really fascinating. The question I wanted to ask you next is one that actually I hear a lot from the animal nutrition and feed industry when they are expressing kind of their thoughts on using insects for use in feed. And that is there enough to go around? So what I really want to understand is how much you're producing and how you and EnviroFlight intend to scale this up to support the entire industry to meet demands.
It's a great question, Ollie, and we hear this very often. The black soldier fly, the insect industry in general, actually, is definitely growing at exponential rates, but still in its infancy for sure. We've done a pretty good job keeping up with demand the last couple of years, and we have a really aggressive expansion plan for the next several years. We typically like to compare ourselves to the 1920s chicken farmer. Back then, a producer would maintain their own breeding flock. They would collect their own eggs, hatch their own chicks. They would grow their own chicks. And a lot of times they would even process their own birds, right there on their farms or in their facilities. That's kind of where we are with insect rearing right now. Over time, the poultry industry realized that they would be better off splitting those businesses up into the specialized categories and really focus in on either breeding and egg collection, or rearing those chicks, or even processing the finished birds. I believe that the insect industry will adopt some of these advances in production as well as we continue to grow over the next several years, and find ways to really create efficiency even more so than what we're doing already right now.
I think that's a really great comparison, because like you say, I mean, we didn't really have this sort of industry 50 to 100 years ago, but if you look at animal production 50 years ago even, it was so different to what we're doing now, because we've managed to drive more efficiencies, and that potential to learn more about the process of farming insects, I just think is really exciting and gives us a lot of opportunity. So I want to find out a bit more about some of the challenges that you've faced through development. Now, as the company has grown, I imagine there's been plenty of things that you've experienced and had to work through. So it'd be great to understand the challenges you've faced, the challenges you're facing now, and how you're going about managing these.
Absolutely. I mean, really some of the challenges that we've faced in developing black soldier fly commercially for animal feed includes the very basics of raising these flies and getting them to breed and produce enough eggs, and then keep those eggs healthy to hatch and grow into healthy larvae. It's very different when you're when you're doing this in, I'll call it a lab scale or a research and development size facility versus moving into an enormous commercial plant and trying to do this on massive scale. So we've spent a lot of time really focused on how to take that smaller scale facility and bring it up to the big commercial size facility where you're maybe not able to look at or pay attention to not only every larva every day or every fly every day, but even every tray of larva every day. It's just a very different production method. We also, in our commercial facility, we use a lot of automation. And this is something that, from a technical standpoint, we need to figure out and work out, all of those details and just make sure all of that automation is working the way that we need it to be working for our specific facility. One of the great advantages of automation is that it provides a biosecure level for us. So when we're producing these larvae on commercial scale and they're going into typically very high quality animal feed, we have that safety measure in place where we're not putting our hands in the product every day. We don't have necessarily our employees, in there, in and out with the larva every single day. So that's provided us kind of that extra level of safety, if you will, by using that automation. So some of the other challenges that we've faced over the last couple of years is just regulation. From a government standpoint, insects are brand new to animal feed. So we've really been challenged on getting the FDA and manufacturers for that matter up to speed on the benefits of using insect and animal feed. And we've done a lot of R&D to support the safety of using especially black soldier fly in feed production. So we're presenting all of that research in the form of dossiers to the FDA for to help with the approval of using black soldier fly in animal feed. And it's time consuming and it's expensive to do all of that research, but as we are leading the industry in the United States, we feel like that is our responsibility as well to help grow that market and just educate everybody on the importance and the safety and the efficiency of using black soldier fly.
I want to pick up on your last point there about the regulatory issues. And I just think, any pioneering innovators in an industry have got the biggest mountain to climb when it comes to overcoming the regulatory challenges. But the rewards are so great for, as you say, not just your business, but the entire insect for feed industry. So I think it's great that you're really putting in the research and investing to make sure that you can overcome these. So now I want to know about your biggest success stories, things that you've done that have been great for your company and the wider industry, and also some of the milestones that you think are yet to come. Can you tell us about these?
Sure, absolutely. We have the very first commercial black soldier fly facility in the United States. This is so exciting on so many levels every single day. Not only do we have the first facility, but we've really been the pioneers in an industry that was basically unheard of in the US. And we've been able to turn that corner and produce these insects on commercial scale to provide this high quality, sustainable, premium ingredient to the feed industry, which is something different that we haven't seen in the feed industry ever before. We continue to overcome the regulatory hurdles, and we see more and more species being added to that definition or approved list of animals that can be fed black soldier fly larvae. That's very exciting as well. And we look forward to opening future plants and improving our efficiencies in the production of all of our Enviro products that we had talked about before, and really just making these ingredients available to all of the feed markets and at commercially competitive prices.
So finally, I want to understand what you think the potential for insects to replace other feed proteins in our industry is. What are EnviroFlight's ambitions here, and how far away are we from achieving those ambitions?
Yeah, the requirement for protein and food in general continues to increase year over year. In fact, by the year 2050, the world is expected to top 9 billion people. That's a huge population. EnviroFlight has no intention of replacing any other feed proteins. Instead, we have every intention of providing another protein source and another energy source for the growing population. Fish meal is a great example. Fish meal is already in limited supply, and the aquaculture industry is one of the fastest growing industries in all of agriculture. It makes sense for fish at some point in their growing cycle to eat insects. So why not work together to create a world of regenerative agriculture all the way around? EnviroFlight has a mission to continue to develop the insect market by providing a variety of ingredients to meet the needs of people and animals alike. We put a lot of focus into our research and development strategies, and we have a really strong research background. We truly are experts in the industry, and we will continue to develop the industry as a contribution to all of agriculture.
I think that that's really exciting, and I think we're all very intrigued to see what the future holds. There's just so much potential here, and I think we're all going to be watching and following the work that you're doing very carefully, and hopefully thinking about how we can support companies like EnviroFlight in what you're doing. Thank you so much, Carrie, for this fascinating insight. It's been great to get your thoughts on this. Thank you to everyone for tuning in, and we hope you join us for future videos from Feedinfo.